right.
Let's go.
This is the part where we say like testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Just when we get started, I thought it'd be great if we could get meta, and I'm going to do a story on our
Oh,
IG.
yeah. Nice. Why don't we
So
IG live the YouTube live?
it's not quite IG live, but we are live on YouTube. This is for the Zero Design story. Bit meta. Say hello, hello. Cool. All right, done.
Thanks.
Sweet. So today, if you are joining live, well, thank you very much for joining. If you are watching it back, probably going to skip forward a little bit because we'll have a little bit of people come in, a little bit of a chit chat and catch up because we used to do a lot of these things, maybe not necessarily in person, but in the same country at least. But Sakky now not in this country. Where are you? How's it going?
The good old days to be in the same place. Yeah, I'm good. I'm in sunny Barcelona at the moment. I say sunny just to emphasize why I left for sun.
There is a bit of sun here. There's a bit of sun here, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's temporary.
Yeah, I'm in Barcelona for this week. It's been a couple of weeks now actually that I've been here, and then I'm actually heading out again home to Nepal on Saturday. So not getting too suited and accustomed, but it's been fun. Barca's a pretty cool city, pretty fun city. Been there a few times, but this time has been more just like my plan of working and not so much sightseeing, but just like living like a local. So just need to get my Spanish up to speed, and then we're good.
Yeah, I was gonna say, living like a local. Are you fluent now?
Fluent in how to ask for a table at the restaurant. That's about it. That's about as good as it's gotten at the moment. But I do plan on getting up to speed a little bit more. There's a podcast that actually one of my friends recommended that's very good. I've used it in the past, and then it opens up Latin America as well, right? So then
Wow.
there's a whole continent to check out, South America.
Awesome. Well, yeah, no, that does sound super exciting. I don't think I could do anything like that right now
Yes.
because
How is your rehab? Tell us about your foot and that awful injury, that
yeah, I
tragic
know.
August evening.
Yeah, it's been a while now. Yeah, we were playing football obviously together. So anyone watching, I've ruptured my
Big
Achilles.
eruption.
I was having a great game though. Like I was clearly man of the match. Even after as well, I think. Even after going up injured.
On one leg on the floor.
Oh dear. But no, yeah, I'm in recovery now. Hopefully, maybe 2 months away. I had a big leg boot on, which I can now officially take it off. Start of next week. So very exciting stuff. But yeah, so no, so looking to do some traveling once that leg heals, and then we can get some conversations going on around the world, international.
That'll be sick. That'd be sick. Imagine we come back next summer and then we can have a game in some random country. That'd be
Oh,
sweet.
football. Wait, you think I'm going to play
Yeah.
football after rupturing my Achilles?
Yeah, never again. I've got PTSD now.
I'm sticking to design. And on that topic, it's been a few minutes now, so I think we can go ahead and jump in. So I think to get started, I'm just gonna wait. Let me just
Amazing. Love doing app critiques by myself. Hey Siri, FaceTime David Johnson. This guy. Oh, sorry, we're jumping ahead. Who are you? Who are you? Oh wait, I need to turn my. There we go. I didn't want to create an echo. There's like two. This I can hear you, but it's on my phone. Okay. Um, I have nothing more to say. I think it was very disrespectful what you just did right there. um, we would we can take you through some of the new FaceTime features. I don't know which screen to look at sometimes. Like, there's my camera. I'm gonna look at my phone. FaceTime's got an update. As you can see, what is this new bar up at the top? We got a few different options, a bit more easy to use. I've always found FaceTime super weird with no update for like so many years, but it's nice that they've brought in some new changes now. So you can actually message directly. You can mute. You can turn off your video. It's a little bit easier to do more. You can always do your FaceTime photos in there, but now there's some other cool stuff. So if we go into me, because I'm the spotlight, um, we can do blur, background blur, which is really cool. Like if you can take Zoom calls now, got the blur, so you can kind of see it's a little bit blurry. Portrait mode basically for selfies, which is cool. The other thing, which I don't even think is new to iOS 15, but I just like using every time. So
This is actually ridiculous.
it's literally my favorite thing. How amazing! Stay safe, guys. Yeah, we must control the virus.
What an impression.
Yeah, so FaceTime has gotten a few different changes, little tweaks. You can obviously always do little flips and stuff. But yeah, it's got portrait mode. You've got slightly different UI now when you're interacting with it. And also the other cool thing, you just, DJ's there floating around, chilling. Go on my WhatsApp. He's still there, chilling. It's pretty neat. Pretty neat. I can go off and turn him off, or I can move him around somewhere else. So it's actually pretty sweet in terms of the FaceTime updates that they've done.
Yeah, I think this is obviously being done as we're moving more into, a mobile first world, which was obviously in the design sense, but now like just generally people using their phones for everything now. I want to get into some of this, the UI and UX behind this, because you've got some cool features, but how can they be really used? So like this memoji, this kind of blurred background, this kind of voice isolation, like I guess in terms of activating, turn them on and off. Like it's fairly intuitive, or is it?
I've never actually found memojis intuitive. I'd say it's always been a bit of a hidden feature, to be honest. And even with this, right? When let's say you tap on the screen and it blows me up here, I get the little options at the bottom, but really this is the view that's like super user friendly, like where you've got a lot more real estate, and it's in spotlight mode as well. So they do this. So they do give you some actions, which is nice because it means you can quickly pop into there as well, and then it goes into spotlight mode. I do like that. I do wonder though, is portrait more common than these memoji stuff? I don't know. And I think wonder how far you can go with some of these as well. Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay. Really go crazy. How do I take them off? Oh no. Oh, there we go. Yeah, you can go pretty far with some of them. There's actually also voice now as well, right? Which your mic mode can change. So you've got voice isolation, you've got wide spectrum, which picks up everything, voice isolation just when you're talking, and standard, which is just standard. Because sometimes we've had conversations and it's been very difficult to hear you with the the kind of noise in the background. So I think those changes are actually very useful and timely as well in this space, especially if you're working, let's say, in at home office, and then you have another person there, or if you're in like a cafe or whatever. I think those kind of features can always be very useful. I wonder what their longer term plan is with FaceTime, because these are some business shifts, right? They're taking some inspo. Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, it definitely seems you can put this more into a business context, which is very very cool. But I still wonder, like, they're adding more and more features, and like if you try and change your was it the audio type to voice or something like that, like how do you access that? That's you have to swipe down to that
Control
menu, and
center.
that menu is it's getting big now.
Did you
So
see
yeah,
that?
like yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, this
there's
menu is
different
getting very
ways.
big. Sorry.
Yeah, but that menu there is, I mean, look at it. Look at there's so many things going on.
Mm.
And I think it's obviously it's good that you can quickly do those things, but I think there's still a little bit of a learning curve. And so I think Apple are getting to that point now where they're adding so many features. You need to think about the usability, and I actually think it would have been easier to give you access to the voice types and the video types in this top bar there you've got. Like if you hit the audio button or the video camera icon
Yeah.
there, but you can't. That takes you to a different page, right? So yeah, I think obviously great features coming in. I just think when you're actually in here, you've got good real estate in terms of seeing me and seeing yourself, and that full screen's awesome. The bar kind of coming in and out, also great stuff. But accessing those extra modes, I feel could be a bit more in the context friendly.
Agreed. They also have this now where you can share publicly, which is I would think probably like a long requested feature. Actually, you can actually just get people to come in and join from anything, as they say on their marketing site, even Android, right? Because there's always a competition between the two. But I think that's a
Well,
cool feature. That's a cool feature.
yeah, and speaking of Android, like it's always an exciting time to look for the new operating system for iOS and Apple stuff. But it's also a time when you're going to get lots of Android people being like, "Oh, it's just welcome to another event where they're going to release features that are already available in
Yeah,
Android."
this was available
And
on Samsung 10 years ago. See that all the time.
exactly. And there is a thing such as second mover advantage, which is, when you do something that someone else has done, but you just
Mhm.
do it correctly and you do it right. No, I'm kidding. I don't want to hate on any Apple haters or Android fans, you call them. But yeah, no, this is super exciting stuff. Tear down of FaceTime. Anything else to go through on there?
I don't think so. Obviously, we've got add people. I think they've bumped it up to like add even more people on the calls now. I know they released this in iOS 14, I think it was. But I think these are the main things. I know they have. There's one thing that they didn't release for iOS 15, which they did have in the beta, which was
Mm.
share play. It's not called share play. It was sharing your screen, which is again probably a very long-awaited feature. And one of the things I think they were talking about there was like sharing your Netflix, so you could both watch Netflix at the same time, for example. This is not sponsored by Netflix.
It was marketed huge. I think it was on the website and everything. And I know
Yeah.
we tested it out in the beta phase. It was very cool. But yeah, it's not actually made it here, which is a little bit sad. But I assume it'll come later on.
Buggy.
But yeah, let's jump into the next thing that we're going to talk about then, which is uh, notifications. So this one here is actually kind of a few minor changes. So you've got here, we can see bigger icons and random corners. On the left, we've got iOS 15. On the right, we've got iOS 14. Borrowed my mum's phone because she's still on iOS 14. And actually, I saw an interesting chat around, not chat, an article about uptake for iOS 15, because actually it's apparently half of what it was when iOS 14 came out.
Oh
I
wow.
think it was like in the first 48 hours, it was like 15% going from 13 to 14, and it's now like 8% going from 14 to 15. So the
Still
uptakes,
insane numbers for like 2 days of release.
it's pretty good, but you know how companies are, they're always measuring relatively and you have to always beat it, and they haven't. There are some reasons they said, is that the fact that iOS 15 is more of an incremental update. You had some big things come in iOS 14. Widgets was obviously huge
Mm.
when that came, so I think there's fewer kind of big things, and this is probably falling into that bracket of one of the smaller things, so nothing too exciting, but wanted to call it out because of the visual style and aesthetics, because you get design trends moving all the time, and essentially they've got these kind of bigger icons compared to the iOS 14, and they've got rounded corners, or should I say even more rounded corners. The radius has been increased.
Yeah.
I think that's a trend. That's a trend, right? That's picking up right now. Like everything's, the curvier, the better. Yeah, I'm still talking about apps. Um, but I think it's one to mention because when you're designing, people don't always know how to use um, radius, right? And I think that when companies are doing their branding or whatever, like typically, you don't want a radius if you're going for a company that's serious, like if you're in finance or if it's a very serious topic, you can have less corners. But if you're quite an exciting brand, add the curves. You know, I can't really explain it because, kudos to all graphic designers and the graphic design discipline. There's lots of theory behind it, but and shapes, etc. But curvier things just it sounds funny when I say it, but curvier things are just kind of more like enjoyable, right? And it adds more kind of excitement, whereas the straight edges show a bit more like I know I'm talking about, serious, to the point. So yeah, I just thought is one to raise, very small thing. But actually, if we go into the detailed view, so if you actually start to expand out notifications here, you can really start to see the difference, right? Whereas you can see the curves a lot more, and it's just a small thing. But people notice it when they upgrade to iOS 15, they'll be like, oh, it feels a bit different. And there's these subtle things that I think is also going to permeate through design trends for the rest of the year and in 2022, just like, more radius, bigger icons, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Curves are in. We're still talking about apps.
Still.
Awesome. I can see you've got quite a lot of meetings there, DJ. It sounds like you need to focus on a few of these tasks as well. And I can see you've got blocking time in here. Another trend, at least in my life, because I can't stop banging on about it, is focusing and focused work. I've done a few blog posts recently about deep work because that's the book that we're reading for our book club, of course. And it is a very good book. Recommend it to everyone, and obviously check out our Instagram page for some of the best quotes. But let's talk a little bit about focusing, because iOS 15 also has a new feature that they brought out called Focus. So what you might typically associate with Do Not Disturb has now evolved. So if we head over to our settings, we can see here Do Not Disturb is actually replaced by this Focus section. And we can go in here to see all these different modes. So I think they had driving a couple iOSs before where they started to say, if you're automatically connected to CarPlay, it puts on driving mode. But they've actually gone one step further here to go into all these other modes in your life. And this is pretty cool stuff. You can get to a really high level of like granularity and automation as well. For this, let's talk about work, because DJ's obviously got a lot of things to focus on.
Boo.
And if we head over into work mode, yeah, boo indeed, you get all of these different options now. And what you can basically do is set your phone up to behave in a certain way and to only allow certain things when you're in a certain mode. So with work, for example, obviously I work with DJ. So in terms of allowed notifications here, he's the only person that can contact me. Not even my mum. God, the disrespect is real. The disrespect is real.
But she makes it into all of our videos, so I'm waiting for this one.
I actually messaged her to say, please, can you not call me for the next couple of hours? Because she always has a habit, always just uncanny habit of calling at the wrong time or the right time. So the other side is apps, right? So you want to allow notifications for certain people, and then there's also apps as well. And there's a few work-related apps, obviously, that we use: Calendar, Gmail, Google Cal, Slack, for example. So you can allow any apps that you'd like. And if you saw, neat little UI trick there, you go into people, but you can actually just use the tabs here to switch over to control the apps side as well. And there is also this, like I said, it gets super granular. You can get into time sensitive as well. So you still allow certain notifications if they are like time sensitive ones.
I want to just have a quick pause there because I think when I first looked at this focus mode, there's a lot going on. And they have packed this with incredible features, and you've explained a couple there already. But what is great though is, and it reminds me of our trading 212 at Critique. link above or down somewhere. I'll put that. But it reminds me of there where like it's a very heavy app. There's lots going on, but they've spaced things out really well. They've got good sections. They've got good titles, all that kind of stuff. Like even this screen here, if you were to individually count the number of features or things that a user has to understand from here, we're looking at over 10, right? You're looking at over 10 things they have to comprehend. But it doesn't look too scary. And if I will take my time to look at each part, there's relevant space in between the sections, I can actually do it. And hop back into that people and apps one again. Again, here, like again, this could be quite confusing, but they've got the tabs at the top, and they've taken this into a second screen again. They've got clear call to action for like removal as well. So yeah, I think that it's just there's something to take from here, and I'm taking it in myself as I'm talking about it. But like, just don't worry about getting everything on the page, and don't worry about having an extra screen. Don't worry about having extra padding and extra margins. Like, this really does make it possible to take something that is quite complex and has a lot of features and make it easy to use. So, I mean, Apple often get it right. They've done it again.
On padding and margin, you'll see this is actually new now because you didn't have these containers for settings generally. Still don't know why they're not equal in terms of spacing on the left and the top, because normally you keep it even. I don't know if that's a mistake or they've done it for some optical reason, but I do wonder why, like with these sections, they're not equally spaced on the left and the top. But back on focus, I just want to run through a couple more of these awesome features. So you can see here, turn on automatically. This can be really helpful, right? If you're going to a workplace and anything like that, this is just super awesome. I actually want to use this for like automation with like an NFC tag to say if I tap it, it turns it on, and then it does a bunch of other automation stuff. But at least for location, which is like a classic one, you can go in here and actually basically change or update your location to wherever you'd like it to automatically work from. One of the cool things which I actually originally didn't realize is this little blue ring that you see around it is actually the radius in which it will start to accept that you're at that location. So you can change that radius as well.
That's cool.
Yeah, so we'll do that. I think we can do that, yeah. So if you were to say like we work here, so I'm here, and then basically you can use a slider here to change the radius. So you'd be like, I want the whole of Barcelona. But you might want it a bit granular. So then when you get into that location, it turns it on. It's super useful, super cool. And it's already turned on because that's exactly where I am. So now I've just told everyone my location, so please don't come. That's one cool thing that I really like. And then there's loads of other options how you can update your home screen, your lock screen, and even smart activation in there as well. Like, it's pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool stuff. Love the icons here, by the way. The different colors. Works really nice.
It's and what it's also made me think, because when we try and look for like good examples of UI, or we look at many inspiration sites, and probably we need to do a whole video on that, to be honest. But over time, like Apple don't have a well documented UI system. If you look at something like Google, material design, that's like open, not like open source, but it's like it's open to the public. You can see everything. Apple, from what I know, and if I'm missing out on this, someone needs to tell me right now. But they don't have everything as open as like Google does. But they have so many different styles, and I think it's a little bit different compared to Google, where Google they really try to be consistent quite a lot. In a good way, obviously, and it's a good thing. I think Apple sometimes they just rock the boat a bit. And suddenly, suddenly you've got a whole new UI, and you don't notice it. But if you dissect it, like it's not always consistent. So it's interesting how they're able to do that, where they can have multiple different UI styles within their ecosystem. I think it's a great job how they've done that. I don't know how, but
it's a great point. And I've just realized as well with these icons for options here compared to turn on automatically, they're different sizes. They're bigger actual containers as well, and they've fit that inside of one space in still a fairly comfortable way. It's really interesting. I know there are different sections that obviously helps. It's one of the UX laws, obviously. I think law of association, but I find it fascinating how they're so similar. Like the color of the icons are the same, the kind of placement and style is very similar, but they're actually different. And it's like the whole the classic saying of good design is hidden, but it's done in such a comfortable way that it doesn't feel like out of place.
Yeah, and I think just as you're making that point, we have had a comment come in, and we'd be remiss to not show any comments that do come through. So this is the comment that's come through. Best critiques on here. Let's go.
Yeah. Let's go. Nice.
Shout out to you, Prina.
You're the real MVP.
Yeah, so I just thought to go through that. But yeah, no, I think actually it's very interesting. And I think, their motto of think different, they definitely do that in terms of UI. They're not thinking consistent, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So
Design
yeah,
system pain.
yeah, right. You really could critique them on that. You could see like there's a lot of inconsistency actually in there, but somehow they make it work, and somehow they don't get called out on it too much from public standpoint. Maybe are we the first people to call them out properly on this?
Calling out Apple is a pretty big deal. It's a pretty big
Yeah.
deal.
But cool. Talking about calling out, let's move on to a new feature that is in Messages. So
Pronounced
again,
correctly.
Massages, aka messages. You can see my little mug here. Send in $5 if you found that funny, then give it a like and
No,
subscribe.
it's actually outrageous. What is the one on the top right? What is that? Why does it look like you're sending a photo during lunchtime to like a girl you're in love with when you're 20? Honestly, that's
Oh dear.
I used to send. Oh my
Yeah, so
god.
I mean, I left these on my mum's phone, so she had a good surprise when she went back to message. Was like, "What are these photos?" But yeah, so again, on the right is iOS 14, on the left is iOS 15, and it's a very small thing. But on the right, you've just got the images that come through, one after another. On the left, when you send through some images, it's now cards that are swipeable in a rotating carousel.
Big.
Very small thing, but wanted to pick it out because, well, one, it's fun, and I am big on delight. Delight might be my middle name, because just makes users happy. They get excited. They get some wow moments, and yeah, this kind of thing I think helps create that. And it's all, and this is a combination of interaction design, it's gestures. It kind of reminds you of the whole like Tinder swiping cards stuff like that
Sorry,
came in.
what's that? I don't use that.
Sorry, yeah, I'm way behind in time. Is it called Hinge now? Hinge?
As your Spanish version in here.
But yeah, the kind of swipeable cards and gestures, I think, are a very big thing that are starting to be used by some apps. Obviously, you've got TikTok, really making use of that all day long. But yeah, I think if you can get some of this stuff in, do like try and take inspiration, because people do actually enjoy these things, and I think it's the small things that do make a big difference.
100%. I gotta say as well. Yeah, I completely disagree.
Oh,
This is
perfect.
it's actually one of my least favorite.
Unacceptable.
You should trigger it to say every time you leave, it just creates like a little noise. It's just like sad.
Some sound effects.
Yeah, I think this is awesome UX. This is awesome. It's so frustrating when you want to send multiple photos, and sometimes you do. And this is just a very neat and tidy way to do it. They've actually gone one step further with the journey to now actually say, if you want to save this will now save into your photo space inside the iPhone, and then you have a shared with you kind of space, which is again, great actually continuation of the journey, right? You're not just saying, here's your photos nicely collated, but now you're saying it's stored for you in a safe space because you're going to want to view it alongside your other photos. They've done a really good job here of, I think, drastically improving the photo sharing space UX.
Awesome. Short and sweet. On to the next thing.
Yeah, let's do it. We've got these images. We should we should do something with them. Not these ones though, because I think there's other images that I might want to look at that aren't you.
What? Okay, I knew. I thought you were going to say something else there, something offensive.
Yo. Anywho, here's a recent Medium article from our esteemed member, Purina from Zero to Design. She shared an awesome post about her learnings from her internship. Yeah, nice.
Shout out to Bree.
What you can do now with images, which is again a pretty neat feature, but I originally was skeptical of it, but I do see a value in it at some points. But I think it's just cool. This one definitely can stand out marketing wise, but you can now select text from images directly, and it does actually get to be a really good recognition. Like you can have text on shirts, for example, and you can detect
On
that
shirt.
as well.
Okay.
It's really quite neat. I'm sure we could do it with some of these things here as well. The WeWork placard. But
Oh,
you can do
could
it.
it do slanted text though? Oh.
It can do slanted text. It can. Yeah, it's really neat. It's really neat. And I think you can actually do it like live. Should we do it live?
Wow. Going rogue and doing a live demo.
So if you like, do you see the little? Wait, how do you do this? Oh, there we go. Sorry, it's down there. Ah, see, difficult. So you can copy that, and then let's say I want to like message you, DJ. Where are you here?
That discoverability wasn't great,
You
but
see
the
that?
feature
It's copied
was
through.
sick.
It's copied through. The feature's good, but it is very tucked away. Like I didn't even, and it only appears once it sees text. It doesn't. It doesn't just always appear. Only comes up
Oh, I
there. I'm
see.
just not.
It's quite faint. Yeah, it's quite faint.
It's
Yes, it
super
does
faint.
kind of
That's
pulse at
probably a
you.
problem.
There's some
Yeah.
good there. It does pulse at you at the beginning. It kind of pulsed and like kind of came in, but it is quite faint, especially compared to like the 1X. Like the 1X, you know, that's a lot more
Yeah, it's a lot
opaque
more
is the word,
prominent.
right?
Yeah. Zoom.
But that's a great feature. That is a
It
great feature.
is. It is. You can go to some pretty cool levels. So I think you just yeah, you tap that little piece of text and then copy that over, and then yeah, it works really. Oh damn it! I've just copied over. It
Do we
works.
just
It
talk about
works. It works.
the
Actually.
UX of that menu bar?
But you go one step further, actually select specific parts of it inside of the camera as well, which is really neat. And then let me not get this wrong this time. You can copy it over there.
And do you
Really
know what that
useful.
has in English?
Moving on. I don't know what it means in English. Please bring back something. I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure actually. Sorry, my Spanish
I'm
is.
sure
I'm
you
still
could.
learning. I'm still learning.
I'm sure you often bring up Safari to go into translate.
Can you imagine if they bought translate into that feature?
Oh. I mean, I'm pretty sure. Again, I wanna help the Android people out here because I'm pretty sure they probably do have that feature
They do.
already.
They
That
do. They
it
have
goes
everything in
into
iOS 15 in Android A actually.
Android.
The first ever release. Yeah. Maybe we should do like a direct comparison between Android's text recognition and Apple's text recognition and see who does it better, because we've already spotted a flaw in the kind of discoverability of the option while you're on camera.
This is true. Like a face-off series.
Face-off series.
You know what? That is a great idea, which will add to the backlog and never get done. So, let's do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so next up, let's take a look at Safari. Now, this is a big, big one. In fact, let me talk through some screenshots first, and then Sakky, you can give us a live demo as well. I could have changed the slides from here, but I just wanted to show this again. Yeah, Safari web browser. They've made loads of big changes to this, both for mobile and desktop. But we're going to talk about the standout change because it was a big one. And it was moving the web address bar from the top of the screen to the bottom of the screen. What's all the fuss about? Now, this was there's two things I want to talk about here, high level, and then get your thoughts on it, Sakky. But I'm going to talk about something that I've coined, the Apple effect. I don't know if this already exists, but I think it's essentially the way I'm phrasing it is when Apple do something that at first everyone is like, huh? ¿Qué?
Yeah.
¿Por qué? You know, like they just don't get it. Like, why would you do that? That's incredibly dumb. And then over time, you start to realize, hang on a second, that was a smart move. I think it goes right back to the the floppy disk when Apple moved the floppy disk, and so that's why I kind of like relate back to call it the Apple effect. But yeah, I think this is one thing you need to give it time. You definitely need to give it time because after a while, my personal opinion, I'd love to hear your second as well, but my opinion is that it's much better. Like, I think it is better. I can get into why I think that in a second. But that's one. If you haven't tried it yet, I'd say try it and give it time. But the other thing I quickly touched on before is beta testing, because I think this is a supreme example of beta testing at its finest, because when they first released this, it actually didn't look like it did at the bottom. I don't know. Are you going to talk about Sakky? Or should I talk about that?
You can continue on.
No, okay. Well, just it was
like demonstrate after.
Yeah, no, I mean it was essentially what they did. They moved the address bar from the top to the bottom, but also made it very minimalistic. So that entire bottom row where you've got back, forward, share, bookmarks, and a new tab, that was gone. And you had one row for the address bar, and only when you tapped into that you got these other options. They also removed the refresh icon as well, so it was incredibly simplistic. Not only did they move it down, which obviously give it a big change, everyone, but they simplified everything and removed things. Naturally, that was a bit of a disaster. And
a bit. It's like the worst feature of all time. They changed it immediately after, and everyone was just like, "This is the dumbest thing." That's the whole point of it, just like you said.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's great because they did it and they used the the iOS 15 beta for what it should be, and when it's actually officially come out, they've put all the icons back in, so you've got the back, forward, share, and everything, and you've got the refresh buttons. You have to click into the browser bar and then hit go again. But they've still kept it at the bottom. But yeah, I think it's a great example of beta testing again, like trying to bring this back to our design everyday life, like. Try and get some tests out early, like get a subset, like release features out to a subset of your users. Don't release new features out to everyone all the time. Sometimes if it's a big one or you want to be a bit crazy and experimental, don't say we have to play it safe and release everyone. Go a bit crazy, but release to some people and get some feedback. And that's a great example of Apple doing that.
There's another point to add on to that about removing functionality. And DJ, you and I will always speak when we are working on products. I think we need to be very careful when we do remove any functionality. If it's hiding, we need to have like a very good rationale as to why we're doing that. And I think when you think about the hiding of the refresh, I think the refresh is big. Whether it be like you're moving around and therefore data's not perfect or whatever, there's an infinite number of reasons why you might want to use refresh, and the fact that they did away with that initially, I think goes to show the importance of removing functionality and only doing it when you have very good rationale as to why you're doing it. Of course, they're in beta, like you said, so it's fine. We're testing and we gave them that feedback and it's improved. But I think there's another point to say there about be very careful when you're removing functionality. You have to have a very good reason why.
Definitely. Should we go to the live version?
Yeah, let me just leave the call now.
And there we go. He has left the call. You weren't expecting that, were you?
Oh, how the turns table. Yeah, let's jump into Safari. So we've got this view now. Before you'd have the stack, the vertical stack, if you remember. Now we've got these kind of card views, more rounded edges. You can see, obviously, you've got your tabs and your actions down at the bottom. If you create a new tab, we get to see that little search bar, like you said, at the bottom. I think this, in terms of UX, is fantastic. I've actually been a big I've always questioned the idea of mobile hierarchy, actually, because even when we talked about ASOS, it's like you normally put the most important things at the top when it comes to hierarchy. But on mobile, the things that are at the top are the hardest to reach. So it's almost like saying, is there a bit of a conflict there potentially? It's a very good diagram of that. So with the search bar, perfectly illustrated here, it was so hard to go up to the top. You'd almost have to like move your phone, like you have to just drag my thumb up or adjust your hand, especially with these fat iPhones that you get now. Whereas with the search at the bottom, which is naturally what you're going to do when you come on Safari, is start typing for a URL. This right there is right exactly where it's easy to access, almost where you'd have a button, right, for like a page or a screen. So super easy, and I love that. I think it's a really good change. And like you're saying with the Apple Pay, I'm really interested to see how this evolves, because this is a massive shift. There is no question for mobile, at least browser-wise, this is huge. To move the search bar from top to bottom is massive, and I wonder how many other examples you're going to see of people moving mobile elements down the page, because on just general websites you'll see search at the very top, which makes sense from a hierarchy perspective because the first thing you want to see. But from an access perspective, the thing that's at the bottom is the easiest to reach. I'm sure there's going to be loads of studies around human interaction behavior and stuff, right? That will be closer down, what impact does that have on you using it and how frequently you use it. But this is a massive change.
And as you were saying that, it reminded me of our other live stream, which if you haven't seen, go and check out on our channel, on actually Instagram. And they moved their what was it again? They moved the creation
likes.
the
Oh
creation
yeah. Sorry, all the posting and
yeah,
stuff.
how you actually do a post, which is a big thing, like how you actually post on Instagram. They moved it from the bottom to the top. They did it the other way around, but I think they ended up putting it back, right? Because we kind of really critiqued it on the video, and I think Arthur's ended up moving it back. So yeah, clearly a big thing.
Huge change. So if we get into it, and let's say we're heading over to Zero to Design, checking out our website. What we can do now, there's some cool elements that they brought in here, which is to tab, actually. So what we can do, not one, not that one, not that one. Where are they? Oh my gosh, discoverability. Wait, there was an easier way to do this. Okay, fine. The taptic stuff is clearly their thing, which isn't the best for discoverability. But what you can do is actually move and create tabs. So you can see here we've got a Z to D one, and then now great, I'm on Uniqlo. What the hell just happened? What the hell just happened? So I think they brought in really good functionality, but they haven't thought through the full experience here,
This
because
is
I've
great. I
just
love
added
this.
something. I've just added. Yeah, these are the trousers that I'm looking to buy. I've just added a page that I was looking at onto a tab, and it's gone off somewhere. I've got no confirmation, and I'm left with basically the other tab that I had here. I'm just like, wait, what? Where has it gone? I click that little 3 tabs arrow down at the bottom here, and I can see in Z2D that's where it's now sat. But why have I been left to to sit inside my main tab group here. So if we create that again, we can go onto BBC, for example. Let's say we want to add this. We must control the virus. We want to add this to the tab group. Let's create a new tab group and call it Boris. Move it in there. Wait, what? Nothing happened. Has it moved? It's in Boris. Oh, see, here I'm in Boris. It's a bug. Perhaps it's a bug. Found a bug, Apple. Clearly, when you just move it to a group, it doesn't seem to work. But when you move it to, you create a new group, it seems to work fine. But I think that's an example of thinking through the entire experience. That's probably something you'd pick up on a prototype, or if you're going through QA, which probably highlights the importance of doing that kind of thing at this point. But when you do create a new when you move it over to a new tab, it just leaves me with the old one. I'm just like, what? A little bit weird, but functionality is really interesting. I think they need to shore up their entire experience.
And the going back to the actual address bar, one other thing that I forgot to point out that I do actually love is the swipeability. So if you come out of that and you can swipe, if you swipe on that address bar, now you can't see Sakky's fingers swiping, but just imagine they're swiping on that address bar, and that quickly goes to the other tab. Oh, there you go. You can see it. Wow. Incredible how you showed up on the screen that, wow, you solved the problem immediately. That's great product thinking. Yeah, no, I think that's really cool. And again, it's a feature that, or sorry, something that you're doing quite often. And it's a small thing, but can save you a lot of time. And also, I mentioned gestures before. Gestures, again, you're seeing it a lot more. It's going to make your, swiping's exciting. It just is. So yeah, really like that.
Awesome. They've made some interesting changes to Safari. Really excited to see where this this search bar move to the bottom goes and how we see that applied across other products. Normally after an iOS release, we always see something.
Yeah, with all these things, right, you never know if you're coming or going, just like British weather, which is, I guess, why you moved. And talking about weather, as far as segues go,
that is fantastic.
Really
that
incredible.
Is fantastic.
Really incredible.
Wow.
Because they also made improvements to the weather app. Now, we could have spent a bit more time on this, but I don't really want to bore everyone that's not interested. But if you go way, way back, the OG of weather apps is Yahoo. Now, for those that know what I'm talking about, shout out to you. But Yahoo brought it in with this, amazing, background scenery of having what the weather's actually like, and create this translucent kind of effect for your UI, which is very cool. Now, Apple have taken that, and their increments for this one, again, iOS 14 on the right, iOS 15 on the left, are quite subtle on this page, but I think quite a big difference. So the first one at the top, you're actually getting more information about what the weather's saying. So, despite the weather, being quite simple, where it's visual and just get, the icon, the number, that's probably what we're looking for, really. They do give a bit of information, right? They've got, cloudy conditions from 2 to 3 p.m. Classic Britain. But yeah, they're giving a bit more information, which I think actually is quite helpful for people that aren't just looking for the visual. So you get a bit of both there, and there's definitely space to do that in that scenario. So it's a very small one. But the bigger one here, I think at the bottom, you can see this bottom section here. And this comes into like layout, use of spacing, etc. Because on the right, you see they've got text for the days. They've got the full day, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Now, and the new one, they decided to actually shorten that. Not for today, we'll talk about that as well, but for the actual day, they've shortened it. And, blur the line between, like, do you need to be professional, do you need to be casual, whatever. They've obviously gone for it's fine. There are many date formats, so they've gone for that. But it freed up some more space for some other interesting stuff. And they've also got today in a bit more contextual, right? So you can say today rather than you're thinking on the right, you're looking at which day it is, because
what day is it? I don't really operate on days,
right? Like, you forget sometimes. Like, today's the day. It doesn't matter what actually day it is. Today's the day. So I think that's quite a cool cool use. And then I think in terms of temperatures again, they've made it a bit more logical on iOS 14 on the right. I think you've got the high temperature on the left and the low
Really
temperature
nice.
on the right. Whereas, typically if you're reading left to right, it's better on iOS 15 where you've got the low temperature on the left and the high temperature on the right. And they've also got this cool bar in the middle, which just adds a little bit more visual excitement to the page.
Mm.
I'm a big fan of Delight, but I'm going to ask Sakky, do you have any idea what that visual is? I don't know what that means.
Really?
that
Oh,
yeah, that bar.
I I assume it's the range and
Yeah, sorry, I think you cut out there. Seems like you don't know either.
yeah. Yeah, sorry, you're on mute. But I made you on mute. It's awesome. The visual is very cool.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I think that's very cool. But I want to take you just one more part of this weather app, just because I'm so excited about the weather. But
You're so
actually,
excited. You're now in dark mode.
yeah. I was wondering if people are going to realize that I've gone from progressively daylight to darkness because we're talking about weather, so I thought let's get better. But yeah, data visualization. Like, look, this is a stark difference here. Again, you're looking at iOS 14 on the right. And they've got some cool numbers and stuff, and they've got some useful things here. But the left-hand side on iOS 15 is a complete transformation. The sunset is probably a really cool one to pick out. Like, there's some great visualization there. I could never create these, but like this is great. I think the top four are obviously great by using some iconography and all that kind of good stuff. But I also want to pick out row three, feels like and humidity, because again, I think it's good to kind of show people ways that even though you're not creating great graphics, you can still lay things out in an interesting way. And I think that amongst those other cool graphics, you've got those two cards there where it's very simple, but it still blends into all the other stuff and still looks, a hell of a lot more interesting than what was on the right hand side with the rows. Obviously, that right side is still good. Like, this is again, we're going from good to great. And I think it's just a great example of how I've done that. Having some more card tiling, having some iconography, some probably say maybe marginally bigger text a little bit. But yeah, some cool kind of visual layouts there, which I definitely applaud from a UI standpoint. And I think from a UX standpoint, easier to digest. Like, again, if I want to tackle this information on iOS 15 now, I can just choose my card I'm looking for in one of those grids, and the grid, one of the slots, and I can look at it, digest it. Whereas on the right hand side, I'm kind of maybe taking a row at a time, or a column at a time, or 4 items at a time. It's still
Yeah,
quite busy.
very busy. It's very, very busy.
Yeah. I think if you want to get, it's interesting. Like, a weather app's a really cool one to redesign, to try, because there's a lot of
So much
information.
potential.
Yeah, break it down, make it
Yeah.
interesting. I think they've still got a long way to go. Yahoo, I think, are still leading. just gonna say, like, Yahoo have videos now. Like, they have like live videos of the place where it
Really?
is.
Oh
Yeah,
my
and once I
gosh.
was in California and I was in the video because I knew where it was, and so I just walked there.
Wow,
I
you're
was
a
in
big fan. Big fan here. You got a
there.
super
That's
fan.
dedication. Yeah.
I wanted to say that as actually on your point of like how interesting this is visually. Just the sunset card in the top right. If you think about how much goes into that, like you've got the bar for the actual like uh what do you even call that? That's the actual light, right? They've got it in like a
Mm.
sinusoidal shape, and then the bar to indicate the sunrise and sunset, and then the color when there is sunshine or there's light, and then there's the dot to signal where you are at right now. There's so many things that go into such a simple visual, or what feels simple. Um, it's really interesting, and I love what they've brought in with the text as well, with little recommendations underneath and pointers. Like, look at the UV index. It says use sun protection until 2. That's incredible. That's incredible. That's really smart. It goes beyond just informative. It's now advisory. So, welcome to Apple Healthcare, sponsored by Apple.
Yeah, no, some good stuff. Cool. Well, I think we should wrap it up there. It has been almost an hour, so I think we've come just under, which is great. But yeah, we've taken a look at some of the product thinking, some of the UX, some of the UI, some of the interaction design, and all that goes into product. Obviously, Apple have huge resources to make some of this happen. I don't think you should really measure yourself against them too much, but you can, take inspiration from them, and that's what we're doing here. I'm pretty sure we're going to go and take away some of some of these ideas, and put them into our daily work. So yeah, so if you've enjoyed the video, if you've enjoyed watching me going from light to dark, light mode to dark mode, yeah, give it a thumbs up. Drop some comments on what you'd like to see next. Anything else to end it on, Sakky, in Barcelona?
Yeah, yeah. I think it's a great update. I think what they brought in is some really awesome changes to functionality, and I find this really interesting space of containers. They're starting to use that more. We just saw it in the weather app as well. Um, and like I said, very excited to see how that move of search down to the bottom, that search bar, uh, kind of plays out in other products. I think it's going to be big. I see that if we're talking about early 2022 trends, that I have a feeling is a game changer. And like you said, once Apple do it, it kind of opens the door. But I think it's a long time coming for mobile reachability.
I mean, yes, it's a bold statement you're making. The last bold statement you made on our last Instagram live stream was that they would probably change it back, and they did. So you were correct. So I mean, if I was a betting man, I'd probably place some bets 2022 trends. So yeah. All right. Peace out, and we'll catch you all on the next one.
Bye.